Welcome to Montreal Rocks. Today, we're very excited to have Just Costa, a brother and sister duo, or is it maybe a sister and brother duo?
That's for you to decide.
Yeah, we'll see if they can fight it out. Welcome to the show, guys. We're obviously going to be talking about your new song, about the 514. But before that, we want to get to know you a little bit better. We want to get to know the band and how you guys kind of started off. I always like to ask a question about when you were younger. Like, I want you to picture yourself maybe as a small child, a toddler, and you both, well, you have the same family, but you had a musical family, right? You had a lot of people, musicians coming in and out of the house. Maybe you're flipping through some album collections of your parents. I want to picture that moment when music was not just something that you heard, but it became something you felt, and you decided, I got to do something about this. It's bigger than me. Was there a song, a band, or a moment where that trigger kind of got activated?
Hmm.
Great question.
I'd have, I'd have to say on my end, and I'm actually really curious to hear Juliana's perspective on this. But I really have to say on my end, I wouldn't necessarily put it down to like one song in particular. I would almost say that since our parents grew up, playing music, and we always had music in the house. There's a lot of music from the 60s and from the 70s, and just like classic music that we play to this day just from the love of our hearts, but it's not necessarily music that I listen to, but it's almost like growing up with it subconsciously, it made such a mark. And I feel like that's when I really felt it, because coming full circle, I'm playing songs that I never thought I would play. And I think very much because literally one generation up, they were playing it before, while we were toddlers, before we even knew what the song was. And it really just kind of sat with us and left this sweet spot in our heart, which we kind of channel on today.
But Jesse, it's so funny that you're curious to hear what I want to say because I think our perspective's really similar. Like it's almost like an unconscious thing or a subconscious thing where you're growing up and you pay attention to the songs you hear over and over and over, but it's only later on in life that like you just remember or you just have different melody ideas or lyrics that just and you're like, where do I remember that from? And often I can trace that back to songs my parents, our dad and our mom showed us. I mean, our mom, like Jesse was saying, our mom was very much like folk singer songwriter. She's introduced us to all sorts of just great harmony and stuff. And our dad, a Brazilian jazz guy to begin with, also showed us my brother Guns N' Roses, Michael Jackson. And so we're just like so lucky to have had this plethora of influences that just really you soak it in without realizing it.
What's interesting is both your parents kind of had these different paths in terms of their musical tastes. And both of you had a different path in your musical careers at the beginning. You both kind of went off on different tangents. There was like the singer-songwriter, there was more of a rock for you, Jesse. What was the intersect that made you work, that made it possible for you to work together? Because you were going like you were basically diverging, and all of a sudden you kind of got back together. What was that point where it all kind of clicked? You said, no, maybe this can work.
Yeah. Um, I'd really have to say it's taking the amazing things from each of those genres of music. And what we always tie it down to is, for example, on Juliana's side, folk and singer-songwriter. It's very melodic. It really tells a story. It really gets personal. It's less conceptual and it's more tangible. And she brings those beautiful elements into her songwriting. And rock is very much about the energy. It's about the dynamic. It's about, feeling like your heart is jumping out of your chest because it's so ecstatic. So I very much brought a lot of that kind of sensationalism to the music itself. So we each have different sides of the coin. And it's really just looking on the bright side, looking at the strengths, looking at what complements rather than what detracts. Kind of like a metaphor for life, right?
Yeah.
And in finding that harmony, we actually just ended up with this beautiful, unique thing that you would have never have thought by mixing those genres and those backgrounds together.
Juliana, do you have anything to add?
Well said. No, it's that's really what it was. And I mean, I guess just to add on that, we really do play off of each other really well, Jesse and I, in the music, of course, in lyric writing, but also on the business side and maybe just like life stuff. So we just feel really lucky to be able to do this together. And it was our dad who kind of pushed us to do it together to begin with. I mean, I think it would have happened eventually, but it's funny that he kind of had that vision.
Keep it in the family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, First of all, we have something in common. Now, I lived in Mexico for 5 years, pretty much 10 months of the year. We'd come back for the summer. And you guys spent quite a long time, half the year, or year after year. Where were you? I'm curious, first of all, when you were in Mexico, and what did you pick up musically from that culture that you were able to bring back?
That's so crazy. Yeah, that's the good life, when you take all the best parts of Montreal and Canada in the summer months and then the really hard times. But our parents are both musicians, but also worked in tourism. So every winter we'd often be in a different destination. So like vacation spots, really. I mean, we lived like locals. We went to school and everything. And we're very much like a part of it. But it was we were in Cancun, Ixtapa. We were in Los Cabos for quite some time. So a few different spots. I mean, we actually did this in other places like the Dominican Republic, Guadeloupe, but Mexico is really like has a fond place in our heart. And musically, I mean, like Latin, I think even more than the sounds, just the culture, Latin culture is so undeniable. I mean, not to put it all together, but it's just like such an energy and like being so vibrant and lively. And I think that's what I've really picked up from it. And of course, we can talk about the rhythms and just the dancing and the feel good message for days. But it was just a really special experience growing up.
The one thing I'll add to that is, great question, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to add a traveling, easygoing spirit. And we've had that since we were young, going back and forth, not being so tied to or set in one way of life, in one kind of grasp of things. And to put into context, like, we're easygoing people. We just want to like feel the sunshine, and we just want to take in all the good things of life and just chase after the good feelings. And the first line of Peachy is literally drinking pink margaritas on the beach. And that hits the nail on the head. And even if we're in Montreal winter, here we're drinking pink margaritas on the beach. I think that's what Mexico really put in our blood.
Yeah, I think that as a culture, it's kind of interesting. I believe that travel is the best education you can have. And now that you kind of made that connection, I can see how the music is picking up those vibes. And a lot of people work like crazy for 30, 40, 50 years sometimes to eventually have a lifestyle that allows them to enjoy themselves. But by then, sometimes they're too old or too sick to even enjoy it. But I think, for you guys and for myself and my children, we're able to experience a bit of that cool vibe of relaxing on the beach with the margarita. Maybe not my kids, but myself and my wife, and it's soaking in that experience. And like you said, the culture is very warm, inviting. It's very family oriented, which is great. So I'm glad you kind of pick it up, and I'm going to now re-listen to the songs and try to pick out that vibe in there.
Yeah, right too. And even the one thing that I'll add to that, I'm really glad that you take some time to actually travel and live and not spend so much time just preparing. Because like, I find a little mentality that I have is, and it might be because of the winter, it might be because of, just the way that our society is progressing, but everything is so preparation focused. You can't enjoy today because you're thinking about where you're going to be 10 years from now. And I think definitely it's important to just take it a step back. And, for a lot of people, the thought of just packing up your things and leaving just for the experience gets so much in the way of this, empire that you're trying to build, that it just seems out of reach. But sometimes those are the most rich experiences, and living light and living easy and not having mental blocks in place that keep you from wanting to just go and do that.
Well, enjoying the journey and not the destination, to me, is very important. If you want to be successful, even when you become successful, if you're not enjoying the journey, you're not going to be happy. It's not going to fulfill you. And then you'll just put the marker farther away from you and you'll still never be happy. So I think that's very important. And you guys are, it's all about happiness. But I do want to comment on your logo, the Just Costa logo. It's, reminds me of La Ronde, Six Flags in Montreal. You have a roller coaster there, and life sometimes is like a roller coaster. You have those incredible highs and those incredible lows. And obviously your songs deal a lot with the highs, but personally, how do you guys handle the lows when they come?
I mean, I'm going to paraphrase. To back up, it's funny you mentioned this because this is actually our previous logo. And even though we're no longer using this one as much, we felt it
I
was
found it on your website, so
it's a anyway,
I don't
but
want to get in trouble.
we're still happy that you bring this up because it was kind of an important message when we kind of built Just Costa and Just Costa Land and we're envisioning what it could be. And Jesse often says, he's like, I always break life into two things, doing the things you love and doing it with people you love. And for a number of reasons, but I love when you say, Jesse, that it makes the highs that much higher and then the lows don't feel so bad. And it's very true. And people bring this up and we've brought this up and our music is all about positivity, but we definitely see the flip side of the coin. And I mean, we're not naive. It's not a naive positivity, but we're just trying to make the lows not feel so bad with our music.
Cookie dough, Doritos, gummy worms. That's the gist of how I deal with the lows.
Well, let's talk about Costa Land. What's the price of admission? Oh, I forgot to turn off my notifications.
There's always one.
There's always one thing. But what's the price of admission to get into Costa Land? And how do you want people to feel when they exit the gates?
That's a great question. The price of admission is having an open mind, right? And I say that because we're the kinds of people where if it gels, it gels. And, within one conversation, I'm like telling you my whole life story and I'm like so comfortable. And that's what our live shows are like, where we love the live experiences where regardless of what you listen to, of who you are, of what your past is or your background, what kind of person you are, if you come and the energy is right, then it just gels and it just meshes. And a lot of the time you need an open mind to do that, but we're very much on our end, we put ourselves out there and we are as open-hearted and open-minded in our music and in our energy and performance, that we meet people halfway. And as long as people have an open mind and are willing to just get down with it and just not take yourself so seriously and just have a blast, then it instantly clicks. And that's why we're like so sad right now, because we can't wait till we can be in a room full of people just enjoying that energy and just bringing it to the table and just playing. You can tell I'm getting excited right now. I'm really looking forward.
Speaking of live shows, maybe I'll ask this question now, but we all looking forward to the live shows. Your first live show after this whole crazy pandemic, what will be the first song you play live?
Oh, that's a great question.
We're going to go into a cover of Celebrate Good Times by Cool and Gang.
That sounds like a plan.
I mean, at this moment, this may change, but I would think it would probably be Peachy. And we'll probably have to play it again at the end or something, but just to say we're back. All of this is back and we're so excited.
is
like our feel good anthem. So it probably has to open the day.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how, 514 is definitely the latest song, and I want to talk about that now. When it comes to our city, I love Montreal as well. What are you most proud of from the city of Montreal? What is the one thing, that essence that you kind of see is that rises to the top when it comes to Montreal?
For me, and I think I probably didn't realize this so much growing up, but again, it kind of gets imbued in you. It is just that open spiritedness and free spiritedness and just willingness to enjoy. I love how we value the arts and how it's literally built into the city with the Place des Festivals and everything. And it just, I think you just grow up with a sense of just knowing that the arts are important, and it's like so important for a lively community and city. And I just love the vibrancy of the city. And you know, I mean, we've got our issues as well, but I am proud to be a Montrealer, no doubt.
Don't get me started on the potholes, which is why your video is so interesting, because I did notice that all the construction guys were dancing instead of repairing our streets.
Yeah, they got in trouble for that one. In terms of Montreal, just the one thing, I think Juliana honestly hit the nail on the head. The one thing that I really want to add is just how different everything is. And I'm paraphrasing, but I really feel like a lot of cities are a lot of one thing. And Montreal is just so equally everything else. And it's not that it's this specifically or that specifically or that specifically. It's literally 10 sides of a coin, and everybody's just so cool with that, and everybody's just so accepting. So it's like you get to travel without traveling, because you see so many different slices of life, ways of thinking, and it actually works really harmoniously, and people are really cool with that. So it perpetuates itself and it grows, and you get more of that, and you give to that, and it gives to you.
I have to agree. Even thinking about the jazz festival, it's not just jazz. There's blues on one stage. On the main stage, you might even get some electronic music, or you might even get something like a rock. Like we had the War on Drugs last year, I believe, which I got to see, and you know, it's eclectic. There's a lot of different flavors. It's not just the traditional jazz, just like it's not just one culture here. It's just this mixture, this melting pot of cultures, which makes it so attractive to so many people. Uh,
Mm.
in all the locations that you were filming, is there one that could kind of stood out the most, that you enjoyed the most filming about? Maybe that had something funny happen, or
I wouldn't mind.
You,
in the 514 video, what was the location that was your favorite in all the filming that you did? Which you did by you guys did this whole video from A to Z by yourself. So kudos to that.
Yeah. We just called up a camera guy, and he was amazing. And he probably didn't know it was going to be like 13 hours, like back to back to back. And we're like, yo, let's go. We ended up at the old port at one point, and it's actually right at the bridge of the song. And we got this, we timed it. We had all these locations, and we timed it perfectly with the sunset, so that we are going to be able to get to the old port while the sun was setting. And it's like city, it's bedazzling. It's awesome. And we get there, and we have, I'm not even kidding, like 7 minutes until the sun sets, like right below the buildings, and we lose that light. And this guy comes out, and he's like working there, and he's like, what are you doing? Do you have a permit to be here? And do you have a permit to be here and film? And we're like, no, we don't have any of that. And he was about to kick us out. He told us to go. And I don't know what happened, what kind of magic was in the air, but we were like, dude, just we're gonna show you the video. It's gonna be dope, and we're gonna credit you or whatever it might be. We're just like, please, like hook us up. And he did, and the shot was amazing, and it's like one of my favorite parts of the video.
That's awesome. In the song, you say she's never late, but she'll always make you wait. Which one of you are late, or is this about somebody else?
you know what? I don't think it's about any person in particular, but it's just funny because as we kept writing this song, we just felt like we were really personifying the city and giving it almost human traits. And I mean, like looking back at the line now, for me, it's kind of like Montreal, it's like it's never ready. You know, it's like it's almost so close, and then there's like 6 other new projects that open up, and then this is under construction. But I mean, it is what it is. Maybe that's part of the magic here. You know, we're just taking advantage of the way it is right now, and we love it. But you're always kind of waiting, and if not, you're waiting for the summer. So maybe that's what it is.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
That's so interesting, because I did have a certain someone in mind for that line. But it goes to show how like different sides of a different coin, you know. And it's not Juliana. No, it's a certain someone else. But it's interesting how the same line can mean two completely different things for two people in the same project. You know, I love the interpretation of that.
But I think it's best when lines do, and over time they take on more meaning. And hopefully everybody finds their own meaning for the line, something that resonates with them. And that's what I love in songwriting and lyric writing.
I think there's two sides of also this idea. One is our winters are so brutal that we hibernate and we wait for that summer. And Montreal in the summer, the city comes alive. I mean, we're talking, there's people everywhere in the street. You talk about Saint Laurent Street, it's just packed with people. Who knows how it's going to be, post, during this COVID pandemic. We're still going to be in it probably during the summer, but still, we're going to be outside. That's the one thing we can't wait for. But also, like you mentioned, there's a lot of construction, so there's a lot of waiting for that as well. And but we're okay with that. You mentioned something about how being brother and sister, you're working on the same project. You can have different points of view, even on the lyric. Is there any song topic that you will not write about? You'll never write about because of that relationship that you have. That might be awkward, or that you just don't want to deal with, or is anything on the table? How do you feel about that?
For me, I think as a songwriter, you just have to put anything on the table and never shut the door to anything. I mean, you just never know what will come up. And I think we obviously we think about the themes of our songs, but I think there's just so many ways to approach so many different topics. And who's to say that Jesse wouldn't sing a song alone in a Just Costa project, or I wouldn't? Or I just think, again, there's having the duo just presents us with even more options. So, I mean, never say never when it comes to any songwriting.
I'd even say, for one, if you listen to Come Together by the Beatles, each verse is one person, one Beatle writing about another Beatle. And if they could do that, which is like pretty woke, like that's pretty cool, then I think nothing's off the table. But we actually just had a conversation about this, where if you write a song, the thought, the concept, and the emotions tied behind writing the song can't be taken personally. Mm-hmm. It's like if you write a song about a girlfriend or about an ex, in my view, unless if you're like just being like really not cool about it, like in my view, they can't be mad at you because you were writing a song. You weren't trying to hurt anybody. You're just trying to express yourself
and work through the feelings too. Like
exactly. And
people can deny something you did or something you say, but they can't deny how you feel.
Yeah, and it's also like to not associate artists too strongly with the songs that they write. And for example, a great example is Dua Lipa, because all of her songs, at least on her recent album, are like, kind of angry breakup songs, like, oh, your ex is jealous of you now, but she's been in a happy relationship for, how many ever years. Mm-hmm. And to sit there and be like, whoa, wait, this doesn't add up with who you are. It's like, but it's a song that millions of people can connect to. And maybe you being able to connect with those people is a bigger part of who you are than what the song actually speaks to.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these are good questions.
Yeah, these are great questions. And this makes me think of something that I heard Miley Cyrus say recently, saying that, like, same thing, Jesse, how songs don't define you. It's just that feeling in that moment, and it's in a song, and now it's out there, but it's not the whole story. And Miley Cyrus said, she's like, every night I say goodbye to myself, because every day you're a new person. 5 minutes ago, we were different people. So I love that. Well said.
And I think that your writing style, you take a moment of inspiration and then kind of build around it. So you're not afraid to just have a feeling come out of the ether and just say, okay, there's something here. Let's build on it. Let's work on this thought, even if it doesn't go anywhere. I think is that how you kind of do your songwriting, from what I get?
Exactly. Yeah.
Not only songwriting. Well, okay, let's go a little bit deeper into this. You're in a hotel room in Italy, and that song that you wrote that in that hotel room, paint us a picture of you writing in that hotel room in Italy that kind of was a trigger for this project.
Super cool, man. All right, I'm getting like flashes.
I'm like back there, yeah.
I believe it was like orange walls, amazing Italian wine from like the vineyard down the street.
But can I just give a little interlude in there, Jess? Because we had this amazing bottle of Italian wine, but we were in the hotel and there was no corkscrew. So before we sat down to write this song, we went around and finally found a little spot that was open that opened the bottle of wine for us. So go on, Jess.
Overcoming adversity.
Exactly.
These are the challenges that artists face. But really, it was funny because a lot of our writing that had taken place prior was very much in a way where it was funny. Like I wasn't singing as much, I was playing more guitar. So it was almost like, you know, filling in a lot of ideas that Juliana had from songs. And finally we went on this trip and we went to Italy and we were playing shows. It was going really well. And for the first time, we had really just it sounds funny because we've been playing music and we, you know, been siblings for, you know, ever.
Since birth.
A while there. But no, it was the first time that we were really just like, it was the first time that we were really just capturing this like fleeting moments, and we had completely removed ourselves in every shape of the way just to be able to express these ideas. And it was the first time that we had really gone off, and I feel like had really formed this new way of writing songs where anything goes. And, you know, if something sounds great, awesome. If something doesn't sound great, then just move on to the next thing and just go. And we just like got it all out in one session. And it was a huge turning point. And that was the first song in a string of songs that led to us, you know, having the songs that were actually part of Peachy and the Peachy EP.
Cool. Now we got the origin story.
Mm-hmm. And the wine was great.
And I think this is the first time, the wine was great. I think this is the first time we've really told the story in that way. So
Yeah,
this is
really.
really cool to relive that.
And what the fans really want to know is, does your guitar case still smell like cat pee?
I believe it does, but it
does. It kind of just went in the garage when we got back, and we haven't traveled with it much since.
Okay, well, thank you so much. We invite everybody to watch the new video. It's an ode to our city, Montreal. Kicking it in the 514. As we just before we leave, there's a little game I like to play recently. You know, you've all heard of like a fantasy football or fantasy sports. I like to play like fantasy rock band or fantasy pop band.
I'm here for it. Okay.
Let's build a band. We need a singer, guitarist, bassist, or keyboardist, and a drummer. Who would you choose to build this fantasy band custom created by just COSTA?
This is another great question. I love this. Okay.
I have to say, step one, we need Paul McCartney. Because think about it this way, he can hold down the acoustic section of a show just with him and a guitar, amazing. He can get on the piano for the big piano ballads. He could even get on the bass, and the bass player can get on keyboards, right? Or the synths. So there's a lot of rotation and there's a lot of musical chairs that we can have just by having Paul as part of the band. That's my 2 cents.
So if are we playing just living people or anybody?
We can resurrect from the dead if we wish.
We need a front man, and I was gonna say Bruno Mars, but if we're going back, we should go with Michael Jackson. Just I don't know.
Or Bruno Mars to have a modern spin on it.
Bruno Mars, okay. That was my first. Yeah, Michael's the inspiration, but Bruno Mars.
Maybe get Michael just as a dancer.
There you go.
That's
Let
what
him
I
do his thing.
you know, like maybe they could do duos, you know? Like I don't know how well harmonies would work for them because they're such like lead, like fluttery vocal like personalities.
And then on the drums, I think we should put Anderson .Paak on.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, without a doubt. And then he can play Come Down and like sing at the same time, and like Paul can be vamping on the piano.
We need a guitar player, Justin.
And we need, okay, but then is Paul on the bass?
Or on the keys.
He's bass and synths or keys.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. For a
Take this
guitar
very
player,
seriously.
I would take Slash on the guitar
Yeah.
in a heartbeat.
So have a little attitude, a little rock and roll in that funky.
Yeah.
And then I think we should just add the horn section from Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Oh, 100%.
Or the Groove Line horns that played with Jason Moran.
Line horns, yeah.
Well, to me,
Yeah.
this exercise tells me a lot about your influences without asking for your influences in that traditionally boring way. But I can definitely tell there's a mixture of old and new. There's a mixture, obviously a lot of feel-good vibes, a lot of that funkiness, that danciness, and it reflects well in your music. And the song will get into your head, whether you want it or not. So, I'm going to put like an advisory, just be careful before watching the video because it might get stuck in your head. Just like you're stuck in traffic in Montreal, this song will get stuck in your head. But that's okay. We like it there. It makes us feel good, just like your other songs. And we look forward to your new releases coming up. And had a great chat with you guys. Thank you so much for being on with Montreal Rocks today. And we look forward to what's next with Just Costa.
Thank you so much for having us, Randall. It's been a real pleasure.